Alright, here we are. I'm going to configure the transmitter now. This is the FR Sky Taranis Plus X9D. It can support up to 16 channels, I believe. So let's go ahead and power on this radio, and this is a pretty fantastic radio.
Welcome to OpenTX.
It uses the OpenTX system.
Warning.
And you can program in multiple models on here. You can configure everything, including sounds and screen images and things like that. In this case, I use the utility to choose the Twinstar model, as you can see on the screen here. So at this point, I'm also using the EZUhf JR module, junior module. Plugs into the back, cover comes off, and you have UHF 433 megahertz instead of the built-in 2.4. Incidentally, one of the first things you should probably do when you get this is make sure all the buttons are working and showing up on the screen. And the second thing is that you should do a battery calibration. Take the battery out, check it with a voltmeter, and then adjust it on this screen here for analog inputs. At the bottom you can actually set the value so that they're consistent, and do an actual calibration on the transmitter itself, where you move the pots around and set the various buttons, make sure they're calibrated. Incidentally, I'll show you the configuration calibration. It is right there as you page through. You push enter to start. And now we have to center the sticks. It looks pretty good. And the sliders. That's the these guys here. Center those guys up. Right there. This one. S2. That looks pretty good. Hit enter. Now we move them like you would if you were flying, not too extreme. Like that to all their extensions. Same thing over here. Push enter. And that's it. Calibration is done. I've already created the model here for the Twinstar, so that's already done. We don't need to select a model. We want to make sure internal is off though. So I will go into the model settings. Okay, so I push the menu button, and now we are at the choice option, and I'm going to hit page down and select the Twinstar as a page button. And I turned off the internal transmitter. And now we have to set the external to ppm. So we will exit and move down and hit enter and set that to ppm. Okay, now that is set to ppm. And now the channel range. Channel range needs to be set from channel 1 to channel 12. Advance it to get to the next part and hit enter again. Channel 1 to 12. There we go. We also want to make sure mode master is set. Change those values too for ppm when you set it to 1 to 12. Master mode is set, but let's just verify. I'll show you the different choices you got here. Master jack is the default. Menu and page over to inputs now. Gotta get over the inputs. Here we go. And on this page, we're going to set channel 5 to show the SB switch. So we're going to scroll down till we get to 5. Source. And we have to select switches SB. And right there. Now channel 5 is set to SB. We're going to add a sub-mode switch to channel 6. Hold in the enter key and make this SA. Let's also give it a name. Okay, so I've programmed channels 5 and 6 to mode and sub-mode, and I'll show you once again here, going into the, hold down the enter key, then edit, input the name for mode. What I did was the first letter, you can push the plus and minus keys to change, and you can hold in the enter key to make it a capital M. I did that, saved it, push exit, and I set the source to SB, of course. The SB switch for the mode switch is the one I'm choosing to use, and the SA, hold down the enter key, edit, and I set the name to sub M, or sub mode you could. And next we have to do similar thing on the mixer on screen 6. Now we're on screen 6. Go ahead and set mode and sub mode for channels 5 and 6. So I will scroll down again. There's channel 5 all the way down to switches. And this one is SB. That takes care of channel 5. And now channel 6. And that guy is set to SA. So the mix on channel 6 is now set correctly. And that takes care of the transmitter. That's all done. Okay, the first thing we do is download the Immersion RC software. We choose the type of receiver we have, in my case the EZUhf 8-channel Lite. We go to firmware update, and you're asking where's the firmware update? Well, it's under program, and we are going to click update firmware and browse to the firmware. Channel Lite, you want the 8-channel Lite. They have included several of them in here, so be careful. 8-channel Lite, not the UK if you're in the United States. Open. Now the programming light or bar goes across and it says success, and we got to confirm success. Let's confirm. If we go to configure, and we are going to read settings from the receiver. And up here it now says 152, and it was 150 previously. Alright, so now that's set. That part is over. Now, I do not need to have the battery connected to the EZUhf, incidentally. It works, it feeds off of the USB port for power. So we read the settings. Now we're going to change it to 12-channel mode to work with the Taranis and the vector. So we set it to 12 channel, and we upload the settings to the receiver. It tells us to cycle power the EZUhf RX and remove the USB cable to use the new settings, but we're not quite done yet. So what we need to do now is go to the servo mapping tab. And here we need to read these settings from the receiver. There we go. On channel 1 servo output, we want to set that to ppm muxed. So we find channel 1 servo output and set it to ppm muxed. ppm 11, we want to set that one to RSSI. And by the way, that stands for Received Signal Strength Indication, for anyone out there who is watching this and doesn't quite know what that means. We're also going to set ppm 12 for link quality. Those are two different ways to see how your radio transmission signal is from your transmitter to the airplane receiver. Okay, so set link quality. Now we're going to update these settings. So we click Upload Settings to the receiver, like so. Update succeeded. Now we cycle power and remove the USB cable to use those new settings. Now you could choose to save your settings in the tool. I don't think it's... Yeah. I guess that's only when you firmware update it saves the settings to a location. Alright, so that takes care of that. Okay, one of the things you might run into is the receiver not being bound to the transmitter. Now, to bind the JR module, we flip it from high to low, and we hold this fail-safe button here while we power on the transmitter.
Welcome to
It'll begin to
OpenTX.
beep. It'll beep faster at first, and then slower, and you can release that. Now, at the same time, we also have the EZUhf receiver plugged in and the software up, and this is easier to do it this way. We can bind it by clicking the bind button. Binding succeeded. So now we can remove power. Power cycle our transmitter as well back into the old mode.
Welcome to OpenTX.
And we are ready to go. Okay, we're on to the vector configuration. I've opened the vector software and I connected up the USB cable, and right away it says we need to update. So click here to update to version 1.81. And this takes a few minutes, so it's going to crank away here. Alright, firmware is updated. You can also use the same interface to update the Eagle Eyes too. Okay, I just figured I'd show you these screens a little more in depth here, just at some of the settings. You can take a look at the main overview page where we have our traditional fixed wing aircraft. Various settings you can change on this page. Of course, we'll be coming back to the Run RX and Else wizard later. Here's the airframe selection again. RC configuration where we've set channel 11 and channel 12. We have the flight controller set up where you can change various parameters. Compass and sensor setup. And some safety, return to home, and various features here that you can modify. That's on the flight controller and RC setup. Then there's the on-screen display. And you can see the various changes you can make here. You can include transmitter voltage, receiver voltage. You can change the scale of the text. Other readouts on here as well. You can remove things. You can take out the artificial horizon. See, I just clicked no AHI and it goes away if you don't want that in there, and so forth. And then you can configure the Eagle Eyes and data logging from this screen as well. And those are the extra screenshots there. And you can also set waypoints too, which is kind of cool. Google Maps and various accessories can be configured here. Okay, so here we're going to choose the airframe configuration. Traditional fixed wing. Click OK. It's going to warn you that after changing the airframe type, it'll ask you to confirm it next time you power it on, and you'll see that on the screen, on the LCD screen of your goggles. And we can go to RC configuration. Now, as you can see here, in the RC configuration, the serial PPM must be selected. So that's the type of connection we have. And I've already had it set here, actually. RSSI, we set to channel 11, and you'll go in and select channel 12. On link quality, we're going to click apply, and we can save that configuration, and I already have a config file set, this time calling it sept 2015 config, or whatever you want to call it. So at this point we have that configured, and the next step later on will be to run the RX analysis wizard. For now, that's all. And there we go. We're detecting 12 channels in the pulse chain. First things first, click next. It'll ask you to move the mode switch, which is SB, up here. There we go. Move the throttle all the way up. Click next. Move the throttle stick all the way down. Click next. Move the aileron stick all the way left. Hold it there while you click next. Elevator stick all the way down. For climbing, hold it there and click next. And the rudder stick all the way left and hold it there. Now we get into the sub modes. That's SA up here. Move it to a different position and leave it there. Alright, we got that. Gain knob, we're not using that. Click next. Flaps, we're not using flaps. Next again. Now each channel should have a number, and it does. Click next. Now it's going to learn about the stick throws, fail-safe settings, and so forth. Click next. Turn your transmitter off at this step. So I've turned it off. Now turn it back on and wait for it to bind. Once it binds, click next. There we go. Things are moving again. Click next. Move the aileron stick all the way left. Hold it there while you click next. So we do that again. Elevator stick all the way back. Hold it there. Rudder all the way left. Center the sticks as best we can, shooting for about 50%. Throttle somewhere close. Everything looks pretty good. Move the throttle stick to your typical climbing or higher speed flying position. So we'll just set that to, let's go with 75% or 78. I'll do 78. Move it all the way down. Next. And there we go. Everything is finished. Now's where we can confirm on the screen the airframe is a plane and so forth. On our screen, I'm going to cycle the power, take out the USB, put the power back on. You see the DVR screen. 3S pack detects that. Okay. So now in the RC config, okay, here we are on the RC configuration page tab. These are the mode switches I ended up going with. Originally I had these different, but these turned out to be the easiest combination of switches to use and made the most sense for the least amount of flipping on the controller when you're out there in the field. So I went with 2D plus sub mode for position 1, and position 2 on the left hand side here, stabilize off, and then position 3 is return to home. On the right side we have no hold, and then 2D hold, or altitude hold rather, and we have loiter on the right hand side for position number 3. Okay, this is how this works out. The topmost position here is the 2D heading hold. If we go to the middle over here,
Stabilize off.
stabilize is off. Now in the beginning, I would use stabilize off all the time for takeoffs, but now I've gotten better at it, so 2D heading hold on the uppermost position here
2D altitude hold sub mode.
is what I generally use. Then here we have
2D altitude hold sub mode.
altitude hold on the second position,
Loiter sub mode.
loiter sub mode on the bottom position. All the way
2D
up,
heading hold sub mode.
we're back in the 2D heading hold sub mode. And now if we take this one all the way down,
Stabilize off. Return to home.
we end up with return to home. And I've programmed the voices into the Taranis, which I can show that possibly in another video as to how I got that to work. And on the on-screen display setup, we are going to click RX link quality because we want that to show up here. So we go to Advanced OSD Screen Setup, Receiver and GPS Signal. You can see we have the bars, but there's no link quality. Or RX link quality. We're going to click on RX link quality. And now it shows up. We can click Apply and save the config again. So now we'll have link quality. Okay, and now the link quality should appear on the actual screen. And there's the link quality, but for some reason it's showing a question mark. Not really sure why. Okay, now this is a demo to show how to use the on-screen display menus with your transmitter. Okay, toggle the SB mode switch twice, all the way up and all the way down, and there we go. And in here you can use the elevator and aileron controls to manipulate the menus, as you can see. You can go left to go out, or use the mode switch. You can show volts and amps, the ladders, artificial horizon, GPS and compass settings can all be set here in the OSD setup as well from within here. Go to advanced setup, all the same menus that are in the software. Various things you can turn on and off right from in here, or you can use the software via USB. Either way works the same. Toggle it again, twice to get out. And that's